Ok, parfait. On va travailler un autre, ça fait plaisir.
On peut en faire un petit.
Vas-y,
Ils sont vraiment chauds.
C'est pour
parce que là, tu laisses le silence comme ça.
Vas-y.
Paris, quelle est votre région?
Ah là. Bon, on se fait le petit We are EU. Il y a des claps à chaque fois, ça fait We clap are EU. Vous êtes prêts? 3, 2, 1, go. We are EU. We are EU. Parfait. Vous êtes incroyable. Vous êtes prêts pour la petite chanson? C'est l'heure de la chanson.
Alors, attends, parce que j'ai une autre petite histoire.
Quelle est ton histoire? Oh, vas-y.
On va rester ensemble un petit bout de temps pour quelques heures et il va falloir que vous soyez au maximum absolument tout le temps. Une des raisons pour ça, c'est que les joueurs sur scène ont des casques hélicoptères sur la tête. Donc, et ils ont en plus de ça un white noise à l'intérieur. Alors qu'est-ce que c'est? Ça veut dire qu'ils ont un bruit blanc. Donc ils ne vous entendent pas par les oreilles. Aussi fort que vous soyez, ils ne vous entendent pas par les oreilles. Par contre, si vous criez assez fort, ils vous entendent dans les micros. Les micros renvoient. Donc dans les... Non, c'est véridique. C'est-à-dire que, en général, à la maison, à la Gaming House, quand on refait les matchs et qu'on entend gueuler les gens, c'est-à-dire que la foule a crié assez fort pour que ça passe dans le micro. Donc, déjà, ça va être la base ici, de leur micro. Ils vont même pas s'entendre en jeu!
Ok, mesdames et messieurs, on va partir sur un cri de guerre bien grave. Vous tapez les pieds, vous y allez progressivement. Do it, do it, do it. Plus vite.
Alors,
ok, parfait.
Ils ne vous entendent pas avec les oreilles.
Mesdames et messieurs, attends, excuse-moi Romain de te couper, mais il va falloir qu'on passe sur le countdown. Il ne reste plus que 30 secondes. Est-ce que vous êtes prêts à faire le décompte avec nous? On commence à 25,
26,
25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8, 7, ralentissez! 4,
I think the French crowd is one of the best crowds I've ever played for. That stuff was just really next level, and I remember, the Pantheon chant.
Spartiate, quelle est votre profession?
The crowd was really good, and
Mesdames et messieurs, bienvenue à Paris for the third place decider between Fnatic and H2K. After a tough exit in the semifinals, both teams are eager to show their strength in front of thousands of loud people here in the audience in Paris. We just saw the crowd warm up and the players are of course hopefully a bit calmer before they take to the stage. There's Reckless and Fnatic. We just saw H2K. Jess is in a comfortable position getting in the zone. Hello everyone, I'm EpicSkillshot supporter following tonight's action alongside Vitality's coach Jacob, Yamato, Ken and Mevdi and O Gaming's very own Thomas Zabatinski Hassan. Zabutin, the crowd is pretty fired up, and I'd like to welcome you to the desk. If you'd have to give a TLDR for the English stream, who you are on O Gaming, what would it be?
So I'm a French shortcaster of League of Legends since 2010, so it's a long, long time ago. And I'm really, really glad to be here on the analyst desk with you guys. Thank you for welcoming me. And I try to represent like we have the best crowd, try to have few insights about what the game are going to be tonight.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm also happy about the combination with Yamato Cannon. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure to be here, and this time in Paris. It's amazing to be here.
Yeah, it has been great. So let's see what is on the card this weekend. Tomorrow, it is the final fight for the Summer Championship with G2 versus Misfits Gaming. But tonight, we're kicking things off with a best-of-5 between H2K and Fnatic to decide who will claim third place. And Yamato, following the playoffs, how much of this and how the bracket played out was a surprise for you, and what was expected?
Absolutely crazy that the final is completely red. I did not expect Misfits to come out with such heat, but this meta is for them. They solved the problem with playing around mid lane. Power of Evil has been a massive strength, and on top of that, they have solved their mid to late game decision making.
Now, on top of that, Misfits is playing tomorrow. It was Hansama's birthday. Today is 18th birthday, so it must be super special for him all round.
Yeah, Hansama is kind of like the new favorite player of French. Like there is Soaz that has his own niche, you know, in the French hearts. But yeah, Hansama, yeah, definitely is one of the player the crowd is going to cheer for tomorrow.
Well, we'll see that tomorrow, and we're ready for some great moments in the City of Lights this weekend, and we want to know what got you jumping out of your seats. Be sure to hit us up at LL Esports with your big plays using the hashtag EULCS, and we will highlight them after tomorrow's finals. For now, though, let's take a look at what is on the card in tonight's action. H2K and Fnatic. Well, during the regular season, H2K and Fnatic stood above the rest, finishing with the highest win rates in the summer split and securing first place in their groups, which makes it all the more curious why they stumbled so heavily, and it was an absolute disaster for them in the semifinals. Now, I don't want to say that Fnatic and H2K had the same problems, because it was a different beast. So, Zabutin, if you look at Misfits Gaming versus Fnatic and what happened there, what do you think was the downfall of Fnatic in the end?
Somehow, I think Fnatic struggled to adapt because they want to have their own way of playing the game, which was very fine during the regular season, but they didn't switch, follow the switch of the meta, and they went kind of stubborn facing Misfits, and they couldn't adapt. They showed 3 times the same thing and eventually lost with a sour taste, I think.
Something that is very evident with this Fnatic lineup is that comfort breed weakness. All the time, whenever Fnatic is talked about as a good team, a powerful team, they ended the summer split on a very high note, beat G2, of course, and I feel like in this position, everyone thinks they're good, everyone's going to think that they're going to perform good in playoffs. I don't feel like they improve. When they're under the gun, it's a completely different Fnatic, and a Fnatic that just adjusts and becomes better.
Now, when we look at their opponents, H2K, when they're under the gun, they usually don't thrive. They've had trouble beating those top teams. And just a stat, if you look at their semi-final of H2K versus G2, over 3 minutes, 98 minutes of gameplay. H2K...
Ok, parfait. On va travailler un autre, ça fait plaisir.
On peut en faire un petit.
Vas-y,
Ils sont vraiment chauds.
C'est pour
parce que là, tu laisses le silence comme ça.
Vas-y. Paris, quelle est votre région? Ah là 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 là. Bon, on se fait le petit We Are EU. Il y a des claps à chaque fois, ça fait We Clap Are EU. Vous êtes prêts? 3, 2, 1, go. We Are EU. We Are EU. Parfait. Vous êtes incroyable, vous êtes incroyable. Vous êtes prêts pour la petite chanson? C'est l'heure de la chanson.
Alors, attends, parce que j'ai une autre petite histoire.
Quelle est ton histoire? Oh, vas-y.
On va rester ensemble un petit bout de temps pour quelques heures, et il va falloir que vous soyez au maximum absolument tout le temps. Une des raisons pour ça, c'est que les joueurs sur scène ont des casques hélicoptères sur la tête, donc, et ils ont en plus de ça un white noise à l'intérieur. Alors qu'est-ce que c'est? Ça veut dire qu'ils ont un bruit blanc. Donc ils ne vous entendent pas par les oreilles. Aussi fort que vous soyez, ils ne vous entendent pas par les oreilles. Par contre, si vous criez assez fort, ils vous entendent dans les micros. Les micros renvoient donc dans les... Non, c'est véridique, c'est véridique. C'est-à-dire que, en général, à la maison, à la Gaming House, quand on refait les matchs et qu'on entend gueuler les gens, c'est-à-dire que la foule a crié assez fort pour que ça passe dans le micro. Donc, déjà, ça va être la base ici, leur micro. Ils vont même pas s'entendre en jeu.
Ok, mesdames et messieurs, on va partir sur un cri de guerre bien grave. Vous tapez les pieds, vous y allez progressivement. Do it, do it, do it. Do it, plus vite, Ok, parfait. On va travailler un autre, ça fait plaisir.
On peut en faire un petit.
Vas-y,
Ils sont
fais-toi
vraiment chauds.
plaisir, c'est pour
parce que
toi.
là, tu laisses le silence comme ça.
Vas-y.
Paris, quelle est votre région?
Ah là. Bon, on se fait le petit We are EU. Il y a des claps à chaque fois, ça fait We clap are EU. Vous êtes prêts? 3, 2, 1, go. We are EU. We are EU. Parfait. Vous êtes incroyable. Vous êtes prêts pour la petite chanson? C'est l'heure de la chanson.
Alors, attends, parce que j'ai une autre petite histoire.
Quelle est ton histoire?
Parce que
Oh, vas-y.
on va rester ensemble un petit bout de temps pour quelques heures et il va falloir que vous soyez au maximum absolument tout le temps. Une des raisons pour ça, c'est que les joueurs sur scène ont des casques hélicoptères sur la tête. Donc, et ils ont en plus de ça un white noise à l'intérieur. Alors qu'est-ce que c'est? Ça veut dire qu'ils ont un bruit blanc. Donc ils ne vous entendent pas par les oreilles. Aussi fort que vous soyez, ils ne vous entendent pas par les oreilles. Par contre, si vous criez assez fort, ils vous entendent dans les micros. Les micros renvoient. Donc dans les... Non, c'est véridique. C'est-à-dire que, en général, à la maison, à la Gaming House, quand on refait les matchs et qu'on entend gueuler les gens, c'est-à-dire que la foule a crié assez fort pour que ça passe dans le micro. Donc, déjà, ça va être la base ici, leur micro. Ils vont même pas s'entendre en jeu.
Ok, mesdames et messieurs, on va partir sur un cri de guerre bien grave. Vous tapez les pieds, vous y allez progressivement. Do it. Plus vite.
Alors,
Ok, parfait.
ils ne vous entendent pas avec les oreilles.
Mesdames et messieurs, attends, excuse-moi Romain de te couper, mais il va falloir qu'on passe sur le countdown. Il ne reste plus que 30 secondes. Est-ce que vous êtes prêts à faire le décompte avec nous? On commence à 25,
26,
25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8, 7, ralentissez! 4,
Quelle est votre profession?
The crowd was really good, and like everyone was standing up and like cheering, and it was a lot of hype.
Worlds because of that as well. So I really wanted to try even harder this year and like really carry my team to Worlds. And with us missing the finals tomorrow, there's still a chance that we don't make it. But we luckily for us, we have another chance next week. So I'm gonna try my hardest to see the mission through. Yeah.
A lot of pressure with that mission, Reckless. I'm glad you spoke a little bit about your leadership role, and of course, as you said, you still have the opportunity to go to Worlds. I wonder if you could talk to me a little bit about your influence over some of the newer players on the lineup, for Broxah, for Caps. How has that played into your 2017?
I think Caps and Broxah are really different players and persons. I think Broxah is actually very similar to myself. He's very consistent, and you always kind of know what to expect from him. And I think the only thing he needs to figure out for himself is to push himself further and not stay in his comfort zone so much, because I was the same. For the first 2 or 3 years of my professional career, I was just doing what I was best at, and I never really tried to go further with myself. And I think Caps is actually the other way around. I think he is very inconsistent, but it has many upsides as well, because he's such an impact player. You know, he can just completely take over a game if he wants to. And the only thing he really needs to figure out is how to make sure that he becomes a little bit more consistent with his lows. Yeah, but like leading these two people and being able to play with them is just, it's just a blast to the past almost, you know, because I see so much of myself in them and what they're going through right now that I just want to like help them in the beginning of their career so that they can have a successful couple of years in front of them.
Well, certainly if they do remind you of yourself, they got a very good sign on that one. Reckless, we're surrounded by so many amazing fans here in Paris. Is there anything you'd like to say to the fans here in Paris, chanting your name, and those at home that supported you?
I don't know where to start.
It's okay, take a moment, take a moment.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that all of this, what's happening right now, is something that I will cherish for the rest of my life. Like, I'll never be able to have something like this again, but the fact that we're not able to play tomorrow is just, it's hurting me so much.
Merci beaucoup, Reckless. Over to you at the desk, Chucks.
Thank you very much, Stress. I mean, it's hard to watch, honestly, but for everything that Fnatic has done this year and for everything that Reckless has done already, this energy is what he needs now to win today and win next week. And if we look at those individual players, they've done it in the split. They have won all those matches, Yamato. So will this and being in the arena be that kind of gun to their head, as you say, to get them in the right state of mind again?
Like, looking at their games, their main issue is that I feel like they're playing their own meta. Brox is playing through bottom, and that is completely correct because Reckless is the MVP, and that's for a good reason. And I feel like they're drafting the Ashe. I feel like they need to put him on a Twitch, Tristana, put him in a side lane where he can drive the Fnatic train. He needs to be the conductor because that is what works for Fnatic. They're playing through bottom. The other way around is to switch up the meta, follow the other teams, and of course play through mid. But this is something that Fnatic hasn't been doing for a long time.
When it's Fnatic and when it's in Paris, Zabutin, we also have to think of that guy in the top lane.
Yeah.
So, as how much do you think he could be an influencer in this possible win?
Actually, he hasn't been mentioned, but you have to expect him because when he's playing in front of his fans, he's so good. And there is a funny story: is each single year, at the beginning of the year, people say, yeah, so as kind of washed up, he will not make it, should retire. And there is the summer split, Soaz, which is astonishing in this place. And I think we saw it during the game 4 with his camera. He's actually able to carry as well. So Fnatic can play on the bot lane or play on Soaz because he's on fire when there is a French crowd.
Yeah, it's absolutely so, and he always uses that energy. When we look at Fnatic, I heard a lot about driven by the draft and the approach to the game. When we take a look at their opponents, H2K, their drafts are fine. It's just that under stress, they seem to break. Jankos even said in his post after the match, yeah, that Baron, that completely tilted us and we couldn't get back. So there's not a bigger arena that they can practice that in than this one here. So what will it take? I know you know Jankos very well as well, for them to show the H2K they can be and that we expect them to be.
I think that when we think about H2K's success, it's when they come in with a game plan, it looks fluid, and they have this momentum throughout. They win their games in 30 minutes, and that begins in their early game. I need to see Che working together with Jankos, make sure that Fib even, like stat-wise, the best mid laner in the regular season, needs to be put on a pedestal, and then we can start to ask the other questions.
We will see. One question I want to ask is, in the English broadcast, we always ask the analysts, do you still have faith in H2K? Zabutin, do you? And what is your prediction?
I'd say it's hard to have faith with what they showed, but they have 3 world semi-finalists, so they have the talents. So I have faith if they don't get crushed on the first game by Fnatic. But I would say Fnatic is a little bit stronger, and I think Reckless wants a revenge.
So you're giving it to Fnatic, Yamato?
I think Fnatic is going to take this away. I have this feeling about H2K. If they drop one game, it's going to be the end of it. But H2K is all about answering these questions. Have they solved their mid to late game problems? Have they solved their adaptation problems? Have they solved the problem from last week that came in, where they, of course, stumbled in the early game? Then we might see a different H2K.
That is what we want to see. Well, it is time for the moment we've all been waiting for as the teams are ready to hit the rift for a third place decider. Let's head down to the stage and meet the players.
Bonjour Paris et bienvenue à l'Accor Hotel Arena pour vivre tous ensemble la dernière étape des LCS Summer 2017. Aujourd'hui se jouera la petite finale entre deux très grandes équipes qui ont marqué l'histoire de League of Legends en Europe. Je vous propose tout de suite de les accueillir. Et en premier, en red side, demi-finaliste des championnats du monde 2016. Faites un tonnerre d'applaudissements pour les H2K! Sur la top lane, le rock de l'équipe. Des applaudissements s'il vous plaît pour Odoame. Dans la jungle, c'est l'un des hommes qui a battu sa réputation sur les First Blood. Vous le connaissez, du bruit pour Yokos. Sur la mid lane, vous l'avez applaudi en 2015, ici même, à Paris, Feu, Bu, Feu. Au poste d'Adekari, nucléaire, un jeune joueur venu de Corée, faites du bruit s'il vous plaît. Le support de l'équipe, un joueur brillantissime, du bruit pour Choi. Et le plus vieux coach en activité en Europe, Pro Lu. Et désormais, l'équipe de cœur de beaucoup d'entre vous, nous le savons, les demi-finalistes des championnats du monde 2015, Fnatic! Sur la top lane, inutile de vous le présenter, mais recevez-le comme il se doit à la maison, à Paris, en France, So Dans la jungle, il vient du nord, c'est un viking, bro. Sur la mid lane, un des plus jeunes talents d'Europe, du bruit pour Cop. Au poste d'Adekari, vous l'avez vu il y a quelques minutes, il est la figure emblématique de LCS Europe. Classe! au poste de support. Du bruit, s'il vous plaît, pour Jésus! Et enfin, le dernier élément de l'équipe, le coach Dylan Falco! Mesdames, mesdemoiselles, messieurs, merci d'être réunis aussi, nombreux ici, à Paris, à l'Accor Hotel Arena. Players, take your seat, et que le show commence!
Place decider between Fnatic and H2K. I'm Daniel Dracos, joined by fellow beta Martin Fisher Lunga, but we are blessed with the presence of the one true alpha of League of Legends color casting, Andrew Vettius Day.
Come on, guys, let's take this seriously. It's the third place match. Fnatic and H2K, a lot of hype fans in. Watch amazing.
It's okay. You're the alpha. It's your call. Well, we are just moments away from Champion Select, but guys, I did not believe it when people told me how insane French crowds were. But
I've tried it a few times before, and it's always fantastic. But I gotta say, this is still the loudest I have even experienced. We have two teams on the stage right now who is standing there getting this ovation from the entire crowd. Like, you gotta be pumped up now as a player.
And I just have to wonder how this is going to affect the guys, how they have to be feeling coming into this, if we're going to see that Super Saiyan Soaz that you always see when he plays in his hometown. So much to be excited about coming into this series, coming into the first game.
All the prep you wanted to do just goes out your window. And
I know we had so many storylines, and now all I can think about is how excited these players are, how much I want to see what they can bring to the table.
Yeah, we want to see two teams here, Fnatic and H2K, that managed to show a better performance than what we saw in the semi-final. A lot of fans were looking at these games and being like, wow, Fnatic, they are the heavy favorites. They should beat Misfits. They lose that series. H2K go down 3-0 against G2. That's why they're playing the third place game. And while nothing is technically on the line at the moment, they're still playing for confidence and momentum going into a gauntlet that will result in one of these teams going to Worlds.
They need to demonstrate that they can perform at the high level. H2K historically have struggled against top teams, and Fnatic, after an 11-2 regular season, want to prove that that semi-final was just a bad series and that they can perform better. I'm excited to see how well they have adapted, because you got to remember, after Rift Rivals, they very quickly recognized their issues and fixed them. So you have to hope that after their semi-final performance, they'll do the same here.
Yeah, they tried their best to actually figure out how to play. We still got to see some of the old trends from them in terms of, you know, not really playing around the mid lane. So Caps, he was left alone. He was a target in that series against Misfits. I want to see both teams actually have learned from the semi-final, especially Fnatic. Caps is a fantastic mid laner. You can easily go gank for him in the mid lane, and he can actually also take over. It doesn't always have to be around bot lane or mid lane, top lane.
Meanwhile, for H2K, we speak about mid laners Febiven. He did have a bit of a rough semi-final, but this could be his great opportunity to really step back up and return to form. Jankos and him. I mean, Jankos was very vocal about how their performance after that first game was not the best, but they looked strong in game one. Things were going heavily in their favor, and I think that they can bring it back in this semi-final, and they really want to show what they've got against Fnatic.
And I think that's what we're waiting to see, is that carry performance from Febiven, where he goes off, where he is the reason that H2K just win their games, and Jankos definitely can be the guy to set him up.
Yes, exactly. Jankos, and we also want Che to join in. We saw this quite a lot in the regular season, focus around Febiven's lane in the early game when players were playing against H2K. Their mid laners got like the second lowest amount of CS in the early game because they were pressured constantly, not just by Febiven, but also by Jankos executing early ganks, roams from the bot lane. That was something we did not get to see a lot of in the G2 versus H2K series, and something we want to see them do now against Fnatic.
And I just wonder which form of each of these teams is going to show up. Will we see that dominance? Because if you look at the bottom lane, it's going to be pretty hard for Che to get those same kind of roaming plays up against Reckless and Jezz, especially if they continue to put that same kind of pressure on the bottom side of the map.
Because when you look at the bottom lane too for H2K, they did struggle against Sven and Mithy. It was not an easy time for them during that semi-final, and so much of this series is very much about how much can both these teams return to form. Eyes are going to be evaluating, will they be playing up to the level that we expect from these individuals? and it just makes it so exciting. The last time we saw Fnatic play in the third place match, they clean sweeped Misfits. I do not think H2K are going to allow that to happen.
Currently just waiting for the players to be 100% ready before we go into the pick and ban phase. It should be any minute by now that everyone is ready. You can see guys, they're already in the lobby, sitting there and just waiting at the moment. But yeah, both teams will probably make a few changes in terms of how they're drafting as well. We saw Fnatic ban away Tristana on blue side instead of trying to get it as a first pick for Reckless. We saw them ban Rakan in the first two games. Only run with one engaged champion, and that was Broxah's Gragas. And Broxah in that semi-final was not really living up to his name, and he could not be the guy who could actually force these team fights.
And we heard Reckless talk about that on stage during his MVP interview. Brox, I want to see you be the guy that takes those risks, that makes those big plays, that gets out of your comfort zone. And we could just see that today, and that's kind of the form we're hoping to see Fnatic in. I think it's safe to say.
The draft is definitely going to be an exciting one. A lot of focus on Gragas for Fnatic in that last semi-final, and as DeFisher, you're rightly saying, for Brox, it wasn't his strongest of performances, but we know that he can do it. Something that he was praised for so much during the regular season was his ability to team fight. And while it wasn't the best showing in the semi-final, I still feel like that with the pressure off, with Fnatic just doing their best to try and perform, I think that he can step up today.
Now, guys, this is an update. I have received information not on what's on your screen currently, although this is arguably equally exciting. Now, H2K Nuclear, he has a special towel, apparently, that he plays every game with, I believe, for sweat. Got to get it off your hands, you know, do not want to have that. Does not currently have it on stage with him. We will not begin
forgot it.
until we get that man his towel. So I've heard that we have people run into his practice room to grab that towel and to bring it to the stage while Rama of the Unicorns of Love
esports, baby,
keeps us entertained.
It's a classic. If you're a common hitchhiker of the galaxy, everyone will know that the towel is your most important necessity. So, Nuclear, he recognizes.
There we go. I see it.
Oh, towel on the way to
is.
stage. We dedicated towel cam here at the EU LCS.
And now everything is good. We've had pigeons, and now we've got towels. Everything you can want, and we've got a half-naked Raman. Perfect.
I mean, to be fair, more impressive would be if he put a shirt on at this point.
I love the hype, though, we got from all the French casters and Romain here before the show even started. They were on stage like 20 minutes before we started the opening ceremony, just hyping up the crowd. We saw also the intro here with both teams coming in. Like, there are so many people in the stadium right now supporting these players and want to see a great performance from them. And especially, again, pressure on someone like Soas, who's playing in France. But looks like the pick and ban phase is about to start.
Game one coming up. Excited to see what's going to happen. It's going to be Fnatic